I only do this because I know they teach it at Yorkville. I don't know why or understand why, but it's not complicated to move slaves. I'm pretty sure any place you run into Algebra 1, they'll at least mention this, so. Write this down. That's the title. Point slope form of linear equations. And as a quick review, we've got two other ones we've used before on a regular basis. We have the standard form. Which is what? Remember when we had like 2x plus 3y equals 6? Remember that? You solve a standard form by xy intercepts, cover up one, see where it crosses, whatever there. I'm trying to think what it is. Is it 8x plus by equals c?
Wow.
This man's a mental genius right there. Alright. The second form, the form that I like the most that's usually used is slope-intercept form.
I don't know the difference.
That is where you see the equation solve for y equals 1/2 x plus 3.
Oh, fractions. Oh, well,
Okay, crosses the y-axis at 3, y-intercept, slope of -1/2. The generic form of that, y equals mx plus b. There is a third, very secretive form out there that every now and then pops up, and you'll probably even see it on your maps test if you do it, and that is point slope form.
Does this have to do with decimals?
It doesn't, but thanks for asking.
Oh.
Nor does it have to do with square roots or whatever. And it looks like this. Here is the generic, here is this form of it. It is y minus y1. I've never understood why we use it. I guess I can see how it is. But this is what it looks like.
Oh, graphing. Whoa. Is that two-edged?
In case you can't see it.
Why does this need to be considered?
Oh, that's.
Does
that help?
Yeah. Make it smaller.
Yeah.
MX. Oh.
Okay, and it's, like I said, I don't necessarily see the real point because I do believe slope intercept is a little just easier to deal with and work with. But the letter M is still the slope of the line. Okay, and the only other letters that you're really concerned about in writing it down is this one and this one. Because what they'll do is they'll say, write the equation of a line write the equation, I should use a small one here. Write the equation of the line in point slope form. In point slope form. That passes through the point 3, 4 and has a slope of, let's say, 3/4. Let's go 3/4. So m equals 3/4.
Well,
What?
3/4.
Ooh, I'm bad with R. It has a 3/4 slope.
Oh.
Now, basically, that just means this. First of all, you have enough information here to graph this line if you want to. You don't have to even look at it like this. If I were graphing it, it just means this. I know one point on the line is 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got this point, and from that point, I know it's a slope of 3/4. Up or down, 3/4, whatever it is. Oh, look, I guess it crosses there, is that what you're talking about? Okay, so I know I can graph the line with that point, but I want it in this goofy point slope form that they want, and it's just a matter of plugging the numbers in where they go. The slope is 3/4, so that goes for the letter M. This first number in the coordinate is always the x number, and it gets put in for this one.
Did you distribute it properly?
Well, not right now, you don't. You see that? The x value here, you always put it in for the sub 1 one. Don't put it in the first one, just put it in this one here. Guess where the y one goes?
The other one.
So this, and again, to me, I don't quite understand it. Someday somebody maybe will explain why they do this, but this is the equation.
That's the answer?
That is the answer. That is the equation in point slope form for that question. It's easy, but I don't understand the point of it.
Me either. Wait, you just kinda like.
They will give you the point. They will give you the slope. You just take this and put the slope in and the two numbers from the points.
That's
That's really easy.
Done.
Why does it
Think
go?
no more about that.
Okay, why does it go 4 over there and 3 over there?
Because this is the x value,
Because
that's
that's
the
your
x
X and
number.
Y. Okay, wait, what's the point?
Taylor, when you have a coordinate, the first number is the x, the second number is the y. Okay, there's nothing more to it than that. Don't overthink it, it's just that way. Kendall?
For the right equation of the line, blah, 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 does that apply to all of it? Like every equation?
Just gotta do it.
I don't know what you're asking.
Like,
Like, do you read that thing again?
that passes through the 3, 4 and has the slope of 3, 4,
Does that apply to what?
like to all equations.
Just to the one I'm doing.
If it's a negative, will you make it a positive then?
Yeah, let's look at a couple more before you get all. Let's say right in point slope, you know, the equation that has a slope of -1/2 and passes through I don't
What
know,
does that say? This-
-2, -4. Slope of -1/2 passes through -2, -4. Again, it's good to start with the generic one, so you see it's y minus y1 equals mx minus x sub 1. And I only bring it up here is because we're talking so much about slope. I said, might as well throw it in there. We won't do much with it. So there's nothing really to understand, Ava, nothing really to understand other than you started with this because I gave it to you. And then you just plug this in for the slope. So I should put that in parentheses. This is what you put in for the x sub 1, and that's what you put in for the y sub 1. It's no harder than that, so it's going to end up looking y minus the y value, which is a minus, so when you minus a negative, it's
Plus.
y plus
2.
4.
Yeah.
How did I get 4?
Because
What's
it's
this
there.
number, Charlie? That's where I got 4.
But opposite is 1/2. Well, will it give you -2/4? Will it give you -2/4?
Yes.
Oh,
The slope is -1/2, so it's -1/2
It's really isn't that.
x
Alright,
minus
like, I had
x
other
1.
problem that we did, cause it was both 3, 4, so then I didn't get, I like that one.
Oh, look,
You are given all of those things, Taylor.
Fractionate. Taylor, they're gonna give you the numbers. Yeah, but last time, the one, it passes through the points 3 and 4, and the slope was 3, 4, so it was confusing because I didn't know where the 3 and the 4 came from.
Exactly. You can't use
Next
the
time,
same
note to
number.
self, I won't use the same numbers for him.
Yeah.
Well, one.
One more, I'm gonna give you the slope and the point, and you write
Give
me
him
the
the same
equation.
number.
M equals, slope equals 7. The one point you're given is 6, 3. Write me that in point slope form. So much to do, so little time to do it.
Wait, that's y or x? Wait, I'm trying to process it. Wait, just hold your head. Taylor,
Your sister hears me.
Taylor, the answer is 4.
Is it?
Answer, do you have a question? Answer, do you have a question?
Question is
Zach,
the answer.
wait, go slow.
In parentheses, y minus 3 equals 7/1,
You don't have to put it as a fraction, but that's fine.
and x minus 6.
Woo! Thank you, Taylor, thank you. What's the and then you do the little parentheses, and then you put these numbers all there. I'm a good experiment. Oh dear. But then how are you supposed to graph it?
Then you just make that in the table.
Oh,
I'm supposed to graph it.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Okay, listen carefully. If you are asked to graph this, here you're starting with the answer, you just work your way backwards. You can graph a line if you know its slope, and if you know just one point on the line, which this tells us both of those things. The slope of this line is
1/5.
1/5,
1/5 x.
and the 2 points on the line, or one point on the line,
4 and 3.
this is the y, this is the x. Notice in the original equation, these were minuses, so that they're going to be that same thing. They're going to be positive 4 and 3, because if I plug them in, that's where they go. You just take, this is the x value, that's the y value. No, y came first, then x came first. That is the x, and this first. So you just, to graph this, you find the 0.43, 1, 2, 3, 4, up 3, and you know the slope is 1/5, up 1/5.
So you went up 1 from.
I find this point first, then you do the slope.
This is probably one of the easiest lessons you have.
Probably, yeah.
As long as you don't mess up the x and the y.
Please do this though. Note, no, here is where you, there's certain things in math you must be careful for. Here's the one that you need to be careful with on point slope. Let me give you another equation. Y plus 4 equals, I don't know, 2/3 x plus 2. Please listen. Charlie, okay? Listen. Looking back at the original equation, it's right here. Take a look. My original equation, the generic one, has minus y and minus x. So the only way for me to get, going back to the thing I had here, the only way for me to get a plus for that y means that the y must have been negative 4 to start off with for my point, because a negative negative gives me that positive. Same thing for the x value. If these are both, or one of them's positive, the actual coordinate point is going to be negative, because you have to put a negative into the negative to get to the positive end of it. So if you're graphing something that has y plus or x plus, that means your coordinate had to be negative, because when you put it in with the negative, it switches to the positive. So your slope is still the 2/3, but the point that you have to use to find that is going to be x is -2 and y is -4. In this case, they were negative, so you know it had to be positives put in there. So they start out being negative. Just, you have to think opposite of what it is, okay? If this was negative, the points are the opposite of what they are. If this is positive, the points are opposite of what they are. So then your point would be -2, -4. And your slope is up to, from that point, up to over 3. And your line's gonna look like such. Are you with me on that?
Yeah.
And then last but not least, I guess, how much time do I have?
I'm sorry.
How about this? Draw yourself a nice little coordinate system. World's straightest, truest line drawn by freehand.
Is this a different page or the same page?
Well, it's kind of along the same lines.
Get it, it's a coordinate plane along the same lines.
These are the plains of Illinois.
Oh, I'm so
That was
better
better.
at planes.
Let's say you're given this line. And I'm gonna do my best to actually get it through something that looks like what it is. Nice. And I ask you to write the point slope equation from that line. Remember, the only thing you need to write point slope equation is you need to have a point on the line and know what the slope is. Now here's why I don't particularly care for point slope, because it's going to look different to different people because there's a bunch of points on that line that you could choose. So when you're given it, usually the book or whoever will tell you which point. Let's just use the right point. We're going to use this point for our equation. What is this point? It is 2, 2. And what is my slope of this line? Goes over, or goes up 3 over 1. So it is a 3 over 1 slope, right? Up 3 over 1, my little triangle. Tell me we don't have to go back to finding out slopes of lines. So there you go, that's all you need. You can write your little formula out there in point slope form. Y minus, what's my y value? 2 equals, what's my slope? 3, what's my x value? 2. Again, had I not told you to use the farthest right point, you could have used this point and it would have been the same thing. It could have been -1, -1, which would have made that +1, +1, but that is there. You with me on that?
So you tell me that one.
And then the last one. Of this, 4751. This time you're given 2 points, and you need to write the equation of that line in point slope form. Again, you've got 2 points to use, but before you worry about that, what am I missing? How do I find the slope when I have 2 points?
You graph it.
No, graphing is archaic.
No.
It's
How
how
do x y minus y2
M
X
equals
minus
y2 minus y1 x2 minus x1.
there you go.
That is so hard for me. I always get
That's
much
the easiest.
That's the easiest one in history.
That is the easiest.
Let's label these x1 or x1, x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, and do the math. 1 minus 7. I'm breaking my own rules about parentheses here. I will do it. X2 minus x1. So my slope looks like it ends up being -6 over 1, which is just a -6.
Oh, wait, no, I'm
And like Alex said, which point do I use in my formula? It really doesn't matter, but the book or somebody will tell you which one. Let's just use the first one given. So if I'm writing it out, it's y minus
7.
equals -6 for my slope, x minus
Four.
That's beautiful.